Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every week we get together to talk about movies, TV, and online content and help you answer the question, how do Warner Brothers Discovery keep finding new ways to anger people? It's a mystery. I'm your host, Asher Hubley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
I don't think it is a mystery. I think it's pretty easy. Just stop.
How do they keep, when there is so much news and stories going on, how do they find a way to overshadow all of it with the stupidity of decision making?
It's not stupidity. It's about money making, you know?
We'll get into it later, but yeah. This is a new low. On today's episode, we'll be discussing what's in our watch history, going over some film news, giving some thumbs to trailers, and giving you this week's top 3. We'll kick things off in the world of Marvel over on All New Marvel Cast. We've got a spoiler cast up for not Captain Marvel, The Marvels. The latest entry in the MCU, of course, starring Brie Larson, Tiana Paris, and Aman Vellani. I've also got a review up at explosion.com. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10 and said, The Marvels is proof that charm and charisma will take you far, with this team of 3 women proving a joy to tag along with through a middling, disjointed adventure. While this is unlikely to be anyone's favourite Marvel film, every character comes out looking better and with more potential stories going forward, which should help instill some faith in the future of the MCU, which it desperately needs. Dylan, do you want to share your non-spoilery thoughts on The Marvels?
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think it sort of dives off the edge towards the end, and I think that's a lot to do with the overarching MCU interjecting and interfering with what could have been a much better film, heavily reducing its villain and like sort of pushing them to the side to get to a different moment. But otherwise, I felt like every scene with the 3 of them interacting was fantastic. All 3 women are great. I stand by sort of what I said in the spoiler card. I definitely feel like, and the more I thought about it after recording, I do definitely feel like this is actually some of the strongest fight choreography that I think I've seen in a Marvel movie in quite some time. I feel like I was thinking back on it, like after I said it, I'm gonna stand by that. I definitely feel like a lot of effort went to pulling off those scenes, and no problems with them. Yeah, in general, really good. Just held back by scripting issues, villain not being super engaging, and in general with a lot of my current MCU things, which is just the overarching beast of Kevin ruining movies that could stand on their own.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a lower score, but it definitely is super fun to see the 3 women together, especially Aman Vellani, who we loved in Ms. Marvel, like making the step over to big screen and being a super positive entity. The villain is, on the scale of, the villain from Thor the Dark World, probably. I can't think of many worse villains, most boring, uninteresting, which is disappointing because there are a lot of cool ideas in this, and none of them are really fully explored or delved into. But yeah, it's fun, and it looks like it's definitely got an audience. I've seen a lot of positive reaction to the film. A lot of people like it, enjoying having a lot of fun with it. Obviously, it's I think it's going to be a hit with a lot of young girls. It did only make $114 million worldwide over the weekend, which of course led to a bunch of articles like, this is the end of the MCU. It's the lowest grossing Marvel movie of all time. What's your take on the reaction to the Marvels?
Racism and sexism.
Interesting.
Because I feel like anyone talks about any of these things as much, except for suddenly when it's this movie.
No, well, I think that's an element of it. I think it underperforming due to a lot of things out of its control, whether it's Marvel fatigue, due to the
Yeah. This movie underperforms
constant-
because of the shittier movies that had come before it.
it's all the the lower standard of Marvel movies over the last couple of years. It's getting oversaturated with Marvel content. The belief by a lot of people that you need to have watched a bunch of stuff, and just the general belief that you need to be caught up on the Marvel films to go see a Marvel movie, being something that keeps people from going to the cinema. Then there's obviously the SAG strike was still going on at before the movie came out. So no promotion for the movie. The only Marvel movie that got released during the strike. And then just a general downturn in general. But I think some of the and that's kind of led to a lot of all the news stories coming out in the days since, piling on the film, and kind of I think it was Stephen King who's it's kind of unpleasant to see people get so giddy about the movie failing.
It's not failing though. Is the thing? Is the thing? It's, in the terms of MCU, what's considered an MCU blockbuster, it's not making that money, but
it cost $200 million. It only made 114. So I mean that is currently
in its
failing.
opening week.
Normally, you at least get your opening gross in the opening weekend. But to be fair, this year has been different. Elementals came in, didn't earn very much, and then went on to become one of the top grossing movies of the year. So, do I think the Marvels can have legs like Elemental? I don't know. I feel like there's a potential there. I feel like
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania did 104 million opening.
I think that was domestic though.
121 international.
Okay, and that is one of the higher grossing movies of the year. So I mean, there's a potential there for it to still to turn things around. I want to say you're complicit. I wrote that really nice closing paragraph, and then for the TikTok ad for the review, you just put the really negative part of that.
Can I fit so much in a box?
Could have put some of the nice stuff in there. Is all I'm saying. Why are you being racist and sexist against this movie?
Hey, I'm one of the biggest supporters of this movie, I feel. And I hate the MCU.
I don't know if you are one of the biggest, I think you're just an average supporter of the movie.
I think this movie's worth watching in the cinema. That makes me a supporter, right?
Yeah. I'm not saying you're not a supporter. It's not a big one. But yeah, a lot of the vitriol against this movie and the hate towards it is kind of unjustified in general.
It was always going to happen. None of this surprises me. Think about the Captain Marvel. Everyone hates Brie. Well, not everyone, but just the general vitriol that's thrown towards Brie Larson. So
yeah, that's why the Fast and Furious movie was underperformed as well.
Possibly,
it's a vendetta.
I mean, the inability to promote these movies doesn't help either. Because of the strike. So
it'll be interesting to see this next weekend because obviously the strike's over. Brie Larson was live on the Tonight Show. All the actors were going out to screenings with fans and that kind of stuff. We've been inundated with videos on social media from the actors. So, if they can minimize their drop off in the next week, there's potential for it to be a win. But I mean, it's a movie that doesn't deserve the negative attention that it's getting, I think. Even though I think, it's held back by a story that is not good or villain that isn't good and a conclusion that kind of blah. I think the major problem with the current run of MCU movies is very few of them are standalone movies that can be watched without other outside or without the feeling that you need to watch outside content.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can do about that in the near future, but obviously, it is what it is. Speaking of Marvel, over on All New Marvelcast as well, we talked about the finale of Loki season 2, which everybody is fawing over online. Dylan, what do you think of Loki season 2?
Loki season 2 was bad, but the season finale, that episode was fantastic. But you had to watch 5 episodes of it to get there. I'm gonna stand by it. I don't care what the fucking internet says. Oh, Loki's such. I saw an article today. We need more of the Loki in the MCU, and I was like, no, we don't. We do not need more of that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think while I didn't hate the first 5 episodes as much as you do, the finale was like the payoff or the justification for us, enduring the previous 5 hours of content.
About right.
Yeah. It was a beautiful payoff, really incredible, fantastically constructed episode. Great time travel elements and tropes, and leaves Loki in a really interesting spot that, will they ever explore that character ever again? I don't know. Is this the swan song for Tom Hiddleston in the MCU? I don't know. Because there could be more variants. We don't know. It's a multiverse. Anything can happen. But yeah, just a very it's a very much of a case of it definitely felt like a case of they had this really cool final episode they wanted to make, and they had to do 5 episodes to set up. So setting up all the ideas and callbacks and everything,
and yet they didn't.
Well, they did set it up. It's just they didn't make it good or interesting or super engaging it felt like there wasn't enough content in the first 5 episodes to fill them out. But we're definitely in the slight minority. I think there's definitely more people who have very enjoyed the entire season and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's that. So that's everything in the MCU. Over on our returning podcast, A Fairy Explosion Network Christmas, we talked about the first 2 episodes of season 2 of the Santa Clauses this season. Old Santa, played by Tim Allen, is trying to bring his family into the Santa Clausing business. His wife is in charge of the elf squad, the police unit that's trying to solve mystery around a missing nutcracker. Scott's trying to get his son Calvin to become the next Santa, train him up, but he's too interested in his new girlfriend. And then his daughter is developing witch powers. Lots of fun there. And then the Mad Santa, played by Eric Stone Street, has been released from his imprisonment, is about to cause havoc across the world.
Oh,
ho ho ho! Is Dylan's favorite thing. Might be his favorite catchphrase from the year.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of writing in 2023?
It is ho ho ho.
But yeah, it's a really enjoyable start to the season. We really enjoyed the first season, so it struck more of that tone. But yeah, Eric Stone Street, a great addition to the cast. More Christmas silliness, getting you the Christmas spirits. Dylan, what are your thoughts on the Santa Claus season 2?
Yeah, really enjoying the first 2 episodes, much better than the first 2 episodes of Loki, that's for sure. And then it's
just kicking it when it's down.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I actually think I feel like 2 episodes in, I'm feeling a lot more confident about this season than the first one. I feel like they've just a lot, as we talked about,
a groove.
They've hit a groove. I feel every character's doing something. Everyone's got something going on. It's just a lot of fun. And obviously, I'm a little bit attached to this because I always talk about how much I would love the original Santa Claus movie and watching that growing up and whatever else. So I'm a little bit biased towards this franchise. I just love this world, I think. But really enjoying it. Came to watch the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, really interesting. Obviously, really fast turnaround, which is surprising. Obviously, not many shows like this get released every year. So I mean, to get a second season pretty quick, and of course they expanded the role of one of our favorite characters, Gary. So what more can we want from Santa Clauses? So yeah, go over to A Very Explosion Network Christmas to check out our weekly recaps of each episode.
The more I think about it, more Gary's just like Donkey from Winnie the Pooh, but as an elf.
Not quite as depressed,
but he's nearly there.
He isn't willing to declare his depressedness
yet.
He doesn't let people know he's depressed. He just is.
Yeah.
All right. Dylan, you watched the new Prime Video reality TV series 007 Road to a Million. The show that, if you've been following the news, what's his name? Who's the host?
Brian Cox.
Brian Cox believed he was actually signing on to be the villain of the next James Bond movie. Nope. Dylan, what are your thoughts on 007 Road to a Million?
Yeah, so I want to get a review up today or tomorrow. I actually quite enjoyed it, and reality TV shows and like these sorts of shows aren't usually my thing. I like what they've done here though, which is they haven't gone for that. They're like, we're this is on Prime Video, this is on a streaming service. Like, we don't have to have that general structure and feel that your normal reality TV shows have. So basically, the way
you don't need to put 5 cliffhangers in your episode. So
yeah, you don't need to put 5. Like that said, every episode ends with a cliffhanger, which is fine, but it's still like kind of funny because it would end, and I got access to all. I've watched the entire season, obviously. It's just, and I went straight to the next one, and every single time, like, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, how do you think that cliffhanger is going to end with them getting it right or wrong, or what's going to happen? It's just that I don't feel like there's any, it was just like the most obvious cliffhangers every time. But anyway, the setup for the show is, I can't remember how many groups of people it is. But like it's it's a typical thing. It's like 2 people. It's like, we're brother and sister. We're a couple. We're work friends. We're whatever. And obviously they all applied, and they show some of the videos throughout the show. But the idea is that Brian Cox is sort of sitting at a computer, and he's like sending these people off to random locations, and everyone sort of starts in a similar location, and they have to like trek through areas. It's not like The Amazing Race, but like I guess it has like a similar-ish feel to it. Like, so for the first episode, it starts with these 2 characters, which sort of become the main characters, to be honest, and the ones I enjoyed the most. They they're brothers. Yeah, they're brothers, and they like go along they track up on this hill and mountain or whatever, and the clue's like, oh, find this lake. And then when they get to this lake on the other side, there's like something chained into it, and they pull that out, and inside it there's a like a computer or whatever, and it plays a question, and it's like, and it's all like trivia related questions. It's all, the ancient gods traveled through here during what group of people like traveled across here during a war or something like that, and you have to press the right button. No, so you don't. Most of the time they have to, like, you pick up a canister for A, B, or C, and then you release it, and if the smoke goes up green, you're good. If you're red, you're out. And the thing for this show is, so for the first episode, this show doesn't do the thing that most reality shows do, where it like introduces every single competitor at the same time. It's not cutting backwards and forwards consistently to show them all. So for the first episode, I think they only introduced 2 competitors. And for the majority of the episode, it just sticks with the 2 brothers from the start. And it like sort of follows them up to like the 3rd question. And as they grow, it's like, this question's worth, $10,000, and then the next one's worth like $25,000 or whatever, and obviously the money goes. But because they do it this way, and then suddenly by the time even you get to like the 6th episode, they go all the way back to that first location in the middle of the Alps, where the fuck it is, and they're still introducing some people then, but some of them, like, they just get the first question wrong, they're out. That's it. You get the first question wrong, you're out. There's no like second chances. There's no like baiting it into like who goes. It's like, you're just out. So the pacing definitely is different to your typical sort of reality show. Yeah, and I definitely feel like it's shot well. It's got like more of a cinematic flair to it. It's got a bit more money. Like, it looks really nice. everything like that. And I don't feel like it overplayed the. It didn't have any unnecessarily dramatic reality show elements, tied in or anything like that. It's literally just people doing a game show. They're going to get these questions right. You watch it, and it has some swearing in it, which is nice because it's actually on a thing. Like, but these two brothers are like, "Fucking hell, where's the?" Like it just feels a bit more real. Like they're just shit talking as they're trying to run around these streets and like find out where to go. I think in the second or third episode, they're like, I can't remember what they're in some European city where they no one fucking speaks English, and the clue is to find this certain house on a street, and they manage to find their way there, and then they get on the inside, and it's like this, some of the challenges are a bit more like you're like, oh my god, fuck that a little bit, because like one of them is literally, what is the length of the snake? And there's a snake in a box, and it's like 3 very like similar lengths, and of course there's a tape measure there, so it's implied, hey, if you want to try and get this question right, you got to pick up that fucking snake and measure that bad boy. Like it's, so yeah, is it James Bond related? No, not at all. Like it's literally just they've got the name, other than like a globe trotting adventure like across multiple locations. The only other thing I could say that's James Bond-ish is that the show is heavily reliant on these people being able to get questions right, like actual like trivia worldwide, and it's not trivia about James Bond at all. It is general knowledge. Like every question is just some world event or world history or something that I guess you maybe like James Bond would probably know that, or I don't know, like smart people would know that sort of thing.
So there's no references to MI6 or like
no.
Q
I will say
or
in
Moneypenny.
one location in the last episode, they have a few bits float like in a room, like different references to James Bond stuff. But otherwise, until that moment, it's just it's just in the name and the
Do
theme
they all
song.
drink martinis at a shaker not stirred?
No, they go to a casino in one episode.
Oh,
so
they end up in the shower crying.
No, they don't. No, so
Mm.
yeah, but with that said, if I feel like if you like any of those like Amazing Race shows or that sort of stuff, as someone who doesn't like those shows much, like I watched them when I was a bit younger, the first couple seasons and whatever, but I've very much like I would say in general I'm the sort of person that makes fun of reality TV most of the time, because I just think majority of them are terrible shit shows these days. This is back to what I could enjoy. This is just, hey, it's not going for overdone drama. It's just like, we've got a game show. These are real people. Let's just not fuck around. It's film world. It's fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right. So I've watched Stolen Youth Inside the Cult at Sarah Lawrence, which is a documentary that came out earlier this year on Disney Plus. It follows the story of Larry Ray, who was a criminal. I think he went to jail for tax evasion or some white collar crime, and came out in 2008 and lived with his daughter at her dorm room at Sarah Lawrence College. So no, like dorm house. There was like 8 to 10 students kind of living in this one building together. And he started living there because he didn't have anywhere else to go. And he sort of became like a dorm father figure to a lot of these people. Like would cook for them and clean and help like try and keep on track. He would over the course of like the semester or whatever, he would start to like indoctrinate himself onto several of the dorm mates, till the point where he got like 6 of them to move into a New York City apartment with him, like a 1-bedroom New York City apartment, to live there with him. It's very weird what it's kind of bizarre what he wanted to do. Like, easiest way to explain it is he believed that this guy called Bernard Kerik, who was a former police commissioner, wronged him, and he'd come to the belief that that guy was trying to sabotage him and try to kill him and that kind of stuff. So over the process of several months, he brainwashed these kids into believing, one, they had been hired by Bernard Kerik to try and harm Ray, and that they thus now owed Ray compensation, or in the form of money or other things to rectify the situation. And yeah, it's just a fucked up situation where he's like brainwashing these kids, these teenagers, college students, into his line of thinking, and it's like kind of forcing new memories into them. It's kind of a study into like brainwashing and like indoctrination, and like he's created this like tiny cult of people who believe. He pretty much got to the point where anything he said was the truth to these people, because he'd been like training them into believing that, like one kid was like, he was telling this kid that he was destroying everything in his apartment. He was doing all this damage to all his property, and this kid has no recollection of doing any of it, but he believed that he had damaged like every single possible thing that he could have touched in his apartment, and now he had to pay for it all to be replaced. But yeah, it's really interesting documentary. It gets even crazier when so the first episode like kind of covers, basic setup in that. Second one kind of covers their time being indoctrinated and that kind of stuff. The third comes after his arrest, and were able to interview two of the final victims, who was at the start of the interviewing process still believed Larry's completely, didn't do anything wrong, completely believed he was a completely nice guy and that kind of stuff. And then over the course of their filming over a couple of months period, at least one of them starts to like figure out that she's been brainwashed, and all these issues have been put into her brain and that kind of stuff. Like, he convinced her that her parents were trying to kill her and that kind of stuff, and like that's how she got cut off from her family and that kind of stuff. It's like really interesting. And then like the other one is like completely still brainwashed and believed that they didn't do anything wrong, even though they're like extorting like one of these people for like money through prostitution and that kind of stuff. So yeah, fascinating documentary, very fucked up story. But yeah, check that out. Stolen Youth. if that's what you want to watch. Don't laugh. We'll get into what you've been watching. Yeah, over on Disney Plus. Let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. Dylan, you watched the first episode of Escaping Twin Flames.
Yeah, I got halfway through the second episode last night, but then I was getting too tired, so I went to bed.
Yep.
I know I never heard of this, but apparently there's two documentaries about this cult. So there you go. But it's basically, from what I can gather from an episode and a half, it's these two people, and the guy as they cover in the first episode, whatever his name is, doesn't really matter. Seems like they both seem like losers. He basically, he went to business school out of class, out of whatever normal school is in America. Went to business, got some kind of degree, but very much like straight away like starts like putting together grifts, like trying to make this like content creator lifestyle, like doing videos, like like trying to do those like thing where you put out a certain lifestyle and that's how you make money, but like he wasn't living that lifestyle and whatever you want to call it, like lifestyle sort of stuff. Anyway, eventually meets this girl, they get married or whatever. They start putting out videos about twin flames, which is apparently, if you Google like twin flame, it's like a saying or whatever for like but it basically is like true love, but another version. At least that's how I took it. But they like take it to the extreme where it's like your twin flame is your one, it's like your one true love. This is the person you're meant to be with, no matter what. And it's like you just got to find that person. So when they get into in the first episode, they cover like they start putting out these YouTube videos or whatever, and then they put together a class, and the class costs, I think it was like $2,200 American for the full 12 months or something. So no chump change. It's just like a group. They have videos of it. It's like a group thing where they're sitting down and they're talking to you. But the problems automatically start arising very, very quickly, even from the early days of this, when it's like, hey, you told us about that guy you broke up with. oh, that sounds like it was your twin flame. You should get back with him. So then they like start like this one girl, like she's like starts messaging this guy that she broke up with because she got told that was her twin flame. They had to be together. And then they're together. And like some of these people they're interviewing now in the future, obviously when they've got out of this whole thing. I still haven't found out when they left. I assume they'll be covered before the series ends. But they like you know, like you got to be with them even though they're completely unhappy. One of the other girls, the sort of the worst one so far, is I think she's like 19. She's like the youngest person. And I don't know what, I'm keen to find out how the fuck more of this happened or whatever, some weird shit. But like they have like at their first like get together, like public, like a bunch of like 20 odd or 20, 30 of them gather together in like one location. They said just as a group. And during this time, they're like, the dude's like, hey, you know, he says one day, like the next man that talks to you, I can feel it. Because they say that they have the power to feel these things, right? You know, like figure out who your twin flame is. They're like, the next man that talks to you, that's your twin flame. So like the next day at this group meeting or whatever, like singles her out in front of other people and like, hey, have you talked to any has any random like men talked to you recently? And she's like, no one's talked to me. Like I was just in the hotel with him. And then he's like, has someone messaged you? And then she's like, well, I had this random guy message me. And he's like, oh. So now I'm like, I don't know if this is a setup. I don't know what the fuck story is. But anyway, this dude who in all footage has his face blurred out. So he don't want to be involved at all. And she's talking to the camera. So she's out like in the future. That's only like silver lining I've got for this, knowing that at least she's out of this in the future. This dude's 11 years older than her. So and she's 19. And straight away, I don't know if or what any worse things happened, but the way she's talking about it very much sounds like a manipulative, abusive, maybe relationship, and she can't get out of it, and she doesn't even want to be in it. She says like it's this like thing, like she didn't want to talk to this guy. She thought he was a creep, like messaging her in the middle of the night, like random shit. And then, but because the two leaders of the thing were like, well, that's your twin flame. We know, we feel it. You know, you got to be with that guy. So she did. Because, and again, you can't really blame her because she's, you know, she's very young. She's been manipulated by these people. She's, you know, she doesn't know she's in a cult, but she's getting to a cult. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very keen to watch more on it and maybe look up that other documentary because at least from what I read I saw some people on Twitter this morning say both are well worth watching. I didn't actually look where the other one was, but it's done that thing again where they like there's two out at the same time, different places. I don't know what the fuck how these things keep happening, but yeah, it's very weird so far, but interesting at the same time.
Yeah. All right, and then you also watched Till Murder Do Us Part, Soering versus Haysom.
Yeah, this was good. This was 3 episodes, I think it was. It's this, so it's in America. You got this, like in the 1980s. You've got these two. It's almost like Cruel Intentions shit, like rich people who think they're too smart. Sort of vibe. You got this very like posh British girl who's like going to this American school. Then you got this German kid going to this American school. They both like think they're the smartest people in the world. Anyway, they fall for each other. She's she's actually like the very beautiful, like generally consensus very beautiful like British girl. He's like very squared 80s glasses, like nerdy looking dude. But anyway, they get together. And then one night her parents are brutally murdered. And the two of them are questioning stuff and whatever. And then randomly they just fuck off to Europe for like months on the run, basically, even though they weren't actually officially accused of anything yet. But that doesn't make the case any better. And then they're eventually caught for like doing fraud over there and like brought back and put on trial and stuff like that. But yeah, it's very interesting because she, after they're caught, starts like admitting that like she says they planned it together, but he did it. And he at first says that when he's caught that he did it. But then when they go to trial, he says he was just covering up for her. Then it's not like skipping ahead because from the outset, the older Soering guy, whatever his first name was, he's out. He's like being interviewed for the show from the get-go, from the first episode. So you know he gets out of jail at some point amongst this. And in fact, they show a montage of like at the start, like the events, like, oh, they, you know, he's out finally, sort of thing. He goes back to Germany or whatever. Never allowed back in the US is like part of the condition. But yeah, up until this day, it's like he's saying I did nothing. It was all I did absolutely nothing. I was just trying to help her cover the story up for her and like protect her because he thought he would do less years. But up until the current day, she still says that it was them. So it's just this two people like saying their own sides of the story, and really you don't know who the fucking you don't know. It's one of these weird ones that you would think wouldn't be a good documentary to watch because you actually don't get a definitive answer because you don't like neither of them are trustworthy, but sort of leaves it up to you. But it was interesting nonetheless.
All right. And then you got to watch David Fincher's new film, The Killer.
Yeah, finally watched The Killer. I really enjoyed it. I feel like it's a very straightforward, but just like such a well-made film. I also think I don't know if I'm like overshooting here, and maybe like this is just my sense of humor, but I actually found the movie quite funny. Like,
I think it is actually quite funny. Yeah, at times.
I know. I don't know if you're like people aren't like I didn't see anyone like saying it was funny, but I'm watching it and my motherfucker,
I mean,
the dude,
it's a very dark.
Yeah, it's like a dark
It's comedy.
humor, obviously, but I was like, I'm 10 minutes into this movie, and like obviously the first 20 minutes is just him like monologuing, like watching this house or what hotel or whatever across the road. Like such a great sequence, and like 20 minutes started the movie up to the moment that changes and sets the course the rest of the movie in effect. But like 10 minutes into this movie, and my motherfucker's like, as Popeye once said, I'm like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? And then not to mention like the reaction of him when he fires the gun eventually and just the fuck like whatever. Like I was like, I don't know, I think this is a pretty funny movie. Like it's obviously not a comedy, but it's like darkly funny, I thought. He also like the commitment to just playing apparently all of the Smiths songs throughout the entire movie. So I was like, that's something. Yeah, really, really good. I mean, even just when, like, I won't say who, but there's a scene where someone like trips over some stairs and like falls onto the ground, and then can we help a lady up? And then bam! I was like, that's pretty funny to me. So, yeah, it's a fairly straightforward movie, just basically made up of 4 acts, but they're all just so well put together and acted and shot in it. You know, David Finch is like sort of a master of his craft, so you don't need like any crazy story or anything like that for his films. I don't feel like he's just so well at like telling stories. He doesn't need the most over the top one. So, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I loved it back when I saw it in the cinema. But yeah, it's a very simplistic story, which I think could turn some people off. They're like, oh, we've seen this all before, but it's the craftsmanship in the actual telling of that story that is so key there.
I was reading today that the hotel, like across the road in that first 20 minutes, that's entirely CGI. So he shot all of those rooms, like it's like 6 rooms or whatever, like or 8 rooms, like 4x4 or whatever. So each of those is a shot he's got, like however long he shot it. So there's something happening or a plate or something, a photograph, whatever. Then the whole thing is like CGI.
So it's not
so
CGI. It's like composited.
No, but like it's composite. But it's this thing where like people always go, well, how does Mindhunter cost so much? Because it's just all shot. Like David Fincher is like a man who you always go back to Panic Room. Panic Room has like one of the craziest like CGI shots, especially for early 2000s. When you're like, how did this movie like cost so much? It's just because he does like a CGI shot where it like goes through a bunch of objects and stuff like that with a virtual camera. Like he's like one of the only people I feel like, as far as directors go, who he actually really embraces new technology, but he just uses it so perfectly, like, and only when like, and it always makes sense, you know, like it's always like a reason to it. So
yeah, absolutely. I might get around to rewatching this again, or at least watching certain elements. Like, yeah, I just love like how much it's like it goes into how an actual killer would function, I guess, in the modern day, like getting packages through Amazon and like searching things up on Google, that kind of stuff. Yeah, just super fascinating. Like hiring trucks and like having storage facilities and that kind of stuff. Really interesting.
I also just thought of another line. Like, not to spoil the movie, but just the fact that it has this massive build up to a confrontation with the final person out of the movie, and literally the first words out of his mouth is, "Do we have a problem?" It's like it's high school fucking.
I mean, yeah. It's so good because, Michael Fassbender's a really interesting performance because in the actual real world, like, he barely talks. But obviously he's monologuing the entire time, so you kind of get his idea. But then also his monologue doesn't match up with the actions that he's doing in the movie. Like, he's constantly talking about have no emotion and be like calm and that kind of stuff, but everything he's kind of doing in the movie is kind of emotional.
He's like perfectly emotional. It's the perfect killer. He never misses. He doesn't get emotionally involved in anything. He would never let emotion drive him to doing the entire events of this movie.
Also, Tilda Swinton tells a fantastic bear joke.
Yes, true.
But, you don't.
Also, when old mate, again, I can't just. So when old mate like fucking is like bleeding out, and he's like, "Now I've done the math." Like his monologue, he's like, it's in his head. He's like, the monologue part is in his head. He's like, 158-pound man, blah blah blah, should last several hours, dies. Fuck. I was like, why is it so funny?
All right, check out The Killer on Netflix. Don't let it pass you by. What do you think of the opening credits?
I get what you mean, but I didn't mind it. Like, having heard what you said, like it wouldn't have bothered me, but like, because you'd said what you said, I was like, oh, I get what he meant. I get what you mean. It's just abrupt or something.
Just very weird.
Yeah,
abrupt. All right, that's everything I watched history. Let's move into a little film news, and thank God, the SAG-AFTRA strike appears to be over. So the SAG-AFTRA says its tentative agreement with the studios is worth more than $1 billion over 3 years and added to has extraordinary scope and unprecedented provisions. So the agreement includes an unprecedented wage pattern with 2 wage increases in the first year of the contract, 7% upon ratification, another 4% increase effective July 2024, making a compounded first year increase of 11.28. There will be another 3.5 increase in July 2025. This package breaks the so-called industry pattern. Wages for background actors will increase by 11% effective November 12th, and then by an additional 4% effective July 2024, and by another 3.5 effective July 2025. And in a monumental breakthrough for the first time, the number of covered positions in the West Coast zones will equal those of the East Coast zones. This is projected to add another 11,000 new covered background work days annually. A nearly 43% increase to the contribution cap for 1-hour productions, and a nearly 67% increase to the cap for half-hour productions will result in increased contributions to the health and pension retirement funds, as well as help performers working on those shows to continue qualifying for benefit coverage. The union achieved the creation of a new compensation stream for performers working in streaming. It provides a substantial boost on top of existing residual structures, making work in streaming more sustainable for middle-class actors. The majority of that compensation will be paid to actors on programs meeting certain viewership requirements. The remaining money will be distributed to other actors working on those streaming platforms through a newly jointly trusted distribution fund. This ensures improved compensation and sustainability for a wider range of actors contributing to the success of these platforms. The agreement will also adds fixed residuals for stunt coordinators working on television and new media productions. The contract achieved important gains for hair and makeup equity, the sharing of aggregate diversity statistics, eliminating inappropriate wigging and paint downs, gender-neutral language, access to gender-affirming care and translation services. It also provides more sexual harassment prevention protections for performers, including the use of intimacy coordinators in scenes involving nudity and simulated sex or upon request, and additional safeguards of background. Additional gains include establishing minimums for applying television terms to high budget made for AVOD programming. Meaningful protections for the casting process have also been established, including provisions specifying the breakdown sides and all scripts shall be provided no less than 48 hours prior to the submission deadline. This is increased to 72 hours for minors. Talent may not be asked to perform more than 8 industry standard pages for a first self-tape or 12 industry standard pages for a second or subsequent callback. Additionally, if memorization is required, performers will be entitled to compensation, and performers may not be requested to appear nude or while wearing attire more revealing than a bathing suit that could be worn at a public pool. Producers must also provide opportunities to interview virtually or in person on a first-come, first-served basis with accommodations for performers with disability. senior performers and minors. Substantial improvements in relocation allowances for serious performers were also made, covering $5,000 per month for up to 6 months with no cap or the number of seasons based on employment patterns. This amounts to a 153% effective increase in relocation payments. So, reading some like breakdowns of or like summaries, analysis of the deal from Deadline. Nobody gets everything they want in a deal, but this is a good deal, a fair deal, and both a big step in the right direction in insurance policy for the next contract, a guild source told Deadline. To that end, now that 86% of the National Board approved the deal, SAG-AFTRA leaders like President Fran Dresser and Chief Negotiator Duncan Crabtree Ireland will start meeting with members to pitch the deal and answer questions ahead of the scheduled start of ratification voting on Tuesday. While the 128-page memorandum of agreement, which is the actual $1 billion estimated deal, remains unreleased and likely won't be available for weeks, criticism is already bubbling from a variety of quarters that the Guild negotiating committee didn't push hard enough with the CEO Gang of Four on AI protections and success-based bonuses for streaming shows and movies. Over the past several months, the Guild moved from the revenue sharing plan of 2% of profits to 1%, and then a 59-cent subscriber levy, as Netflix Ted Sarandos dismissively termed it last month. What SAG-AFTRA eventually ended up with was an annual $40 million fund or $120 million over the 3-year contract, applicable to series, miniseries, and long-form pictures that have initial exhibition on or after January 1st, 2024, as tonight's summary states. That jointly trustee fund for a success payment on streaming projects viewed by at least 20% of the particular streamer's domestic subscribers in the first 90 days seems less unprecedented, as SAG-AFTRA called the deal last week, and more in line with what the WGA got in its deal in September. Tonight's summary offers no hard numbers on what these streaming bonuses will even as it pledges a 75-25 distribution model of the allocated money, subject to legal review and subject to certain conditions, the latter which are left unspecified. That 75 will go directly to the cast of a hit streaming show or movie. The remaining 25% will go back into the Guild and studio co-run fund for them to allocate accordingly. At some point, the trustees to the fund shall adopt distribution guidelines that will govern the payment of the fund money to performers. AKA, we're still working out that part. Certainly when it comes to the bitterly fought AI protection provision, the exceptions to consent section of the 18-page summary is going to raise more than just eyebrows with its broad caveats. According to the summary, studios and producers do not have to require performance consent if the AI is used for post-production alterations, editing, arranging, rearranging, revising, or manipulating of photography and or soundtrack for the purposes of cosmetics, wardrobe, noise reduction, timing or speed, continuity, pitch or tone, clarity, addition of visual sound effects or filters, standards and practices, ratings, and adjustment in dialogue or narration or other similar purposes. Or for the matter, under any circumstances while dubbing or use of a double is permitted under the codified basic agreement or television agreement. Yeah. So the deal went through, but, it's not a perfect deal by any means, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I feel the most of the stuff I've read is just been around the AI stuff, and some people still are a little bit like that seems to be the part where people feel they lost out the most on, I guess, in the agreement.
I believe for the most part, like, obviously you still, like, they need to get consent to use your likeness, whatever, for a lot of stuff, and you also do need to be compensated for anything that they, that you would normally get paid for, that they use AI for instead.
I think it's just like they've got like, it has to be like 75% real people, but you can still have
like background kind of
you
stuff.
can still have like 25% AI people. It's like just the worries of that taking away work of extras and all that sort of stuff.
I feel like we probably already have that though. Like, in my mind, that kind of AI stuff is going to be mostly used for like massive crowds where it's just more feasible to like have AI rather than try and get a massive crowd, like, or in like a disaster movie or something like that, Godzilla. Like, you just want random. I'm sure it's easier to get a random AI figure to die than shoot somebody playing dead and then you have to cut it in and that kind of stuff. When it's already in the programming and that kind of stuff. But I could be wrong. And also, it seems like a few of those like things that they don't need to get permission for, like, make sense. Like, oh, some of the lighting's off. We need AI to like kind of fix the lighting. We don't really need to call up the actor to
No,
get
they
their
have
approval
to.
and that kind of stuff.
I think they also have to like make it known from the outset of production if they're planning to use AI for anything.
Yeah.
So I guess like actors who don't want to act even in a scene against someone who's AI have the choice to not get involved
Mm.
ahead of production and stuff. So
Yeah. I mean, the
yeah,
other interesting thing there is like they don't need to get permission for dubbing. Like, so in their mind, are they going to like change people's? Are they going to like try lip sync people's better? Like, actually change the way their mouths are moving to
I guess
fit
so.
dub versions of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it's the AI
It wouldn't surprise me. But
the AI was such a big part of the strike. Um, so and it's a hard one. I definitely
it's
like
a hard one because we don't know exactly where AI is going to go.
yeah. And it's like I definitely like I fall on the side of like AI's here, like this technology is here to stay, whether you like it or not. So you either choose to find a way to use it that makes sense and like isn't taking away from people's jobs and like ruining products and whatever else.
Mhm.
But like yeah, it's sort of hard because like the opposite of that is just complete like fuck this shit, like I don't want
Like,
anything to do with it. Like I feel like that's also just like the complete either
antiquated.
end of it is not helpful. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Extremism on either end is not
Mm.
not helpful. But yeah, it seems like most people are pretty happy with most of the other stuff. I think it's interesting. Like the threshold to get residuals is that 20% of the user base watching a show in the first 90 days, in America at least. So
Mm.
I
Well,
think,
Netflix
which
and
makes
stuff would
sense
have
for any
wanted
like
some.
hit show. Like,
Yeah.
So is the it's some random show that they dump on there going to get the residuals? Probably not. But
Well,
does
like
it deserve the
it's
residuals? I don't know.
yeah, well, it makes sense, I guess, because it's like that whole thing of like Netflix doesn't give a fuck if you watch their show. Like if you put out a show and it becomes popular 2 months after it releases, they need that. They want that initial like drop, people binge watching it. That's like what they go off. So
Mm.
if you're on a show that is doing that, then yeah, your residuals are good. If you fall under the suddenly your show becomes a hidden hit that people discover months later, they don't really give a fuck about it because as far as they're concerned, that does nothing for them. And so they're like, as far as this
Yeah.
goes, it's doing nothing for you either.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but also how many shows actually fall under that category? They
yeah,
become a
not
massive
many, but
success.
yeah.
Like,
But I this is definitely like I can like as soon as I read this, I was like, well, this is coming from like the streaming services, like the 90-day thing.
yeah. I mean, it's they were never going to get a better compromise than probably that. But
No.
But yeah,
And I mean,
I mean,
again, there's just so many intricacies and stuff that I wouldn't even pretend to understand.
yes,
Don't work.
no, and it's still got to be technically ratified by the actual guild members this week. So,
but I
everything
haven't read
could potentially fall through.
I haven't read anything that says people are worried about it. So
No, I think everybody's pretty going to agree to this deal, and then we don't have to worry about this for another 3 years.
Mm.
All right, moving on. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Warner Brothers angered everybody this week by making headlines and raising eyebrows when it revealed they would not be releasing their completed live-action hybrid movie, Coyote vs. Acme. The news came with the following statement. With the relaunch of Warner Brothers Pictures in June, Warner Pictures Animation in June, the studio has shifted its global strategy to focus on theatrical releases. With this new direction, we have made the difficult decision not to move forward with Coyote vs. Acme. We have tremendous respect for the filmmakers, cast, and crew, and are grateful for the contributions to the film. Needless to say, folks involved with the film and everyday individuals just eager to see the flick took to social media to unleash outrage on Warner Brothers and its CEO, David Vaslav. Vaslav has become a lightning rod for anti-art controversy, and it really seems that like he's a movie studio exec who just does not like movies, like W movies, Batgirl and Scoob 2, both of which were shelved. The plan was for WB to lock Coyote vs. Acme away in a vault for a tax write-off.
I
Which
just shared
is
breaking news, by the way.
Well, it's now been reported that after the very heavy backlash against the decision, Warner Brothers will allow the filmmakers to shop Coyote vs. Acme to other distributors. A source said the decision was made this weekend by Warner Brothers film chiefs Mike DeLuca and Pam Andy, along with new animation head Bill Dashpie. This decision arose after intense online outcry from both filmmakers and fans. People who worked on the film were obviously not happy, while Warner's agreed to pay the film's top talent their streaming bonuses. Everyone involved with the film actually preferred to have the film actually released instead of sitting in a vault.
Sure.
So this is promising. I mean, rumor was they were going to get a $30 million tax break. So if any streaming service is willing to give them $31 million, I'm sure they'll more than get that.
It's a cheap movie.
But it's crazy. This movie is completed.
So
They test screened it and got almost universal praise for the movie. It's bonkers. Why they wouldn't have, it sounds like they wanted it just to be a streaming movie, but from the sound of it, they could have released it in cinemas and got the budget back easily.
But then they
Fucking wild.
They have to pay for
they're already paying for so many other things. A little bit more. This is a movie that stars John Cena and had a pretty solid cast.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. But also, my number one thing from this is I don't know who the fuck agrees to make movies with Warner Brothers anymore.
I mean, yeah. The other thing is apparently a bunch of talent just cancelled all their meetings with Warner Brothers when this story came out.
Yeah, fair.
So
why would you based off the last 6 months or whatever it's been of them shelving movies for tax write-offs and whatever, why would you want to get involved in any movie they make?
Why are you so worried about money when you had the highest grossing movie of the year, which is still raking in money with Barbie? $1 billion ain't good enough for you? You need to get that. You need that extra $30 million from writing this movie off. Fucking crazy. But yeah, just thankfully, another story where online peer pressure and outrage won.
That's right. Even James
this time
Gunn.
for actual good. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, to see also, the backlash against James Gunn for not saying anything publicly in, the days after the story broke, because he's one of the co-writers on the script. But, maybe he was working behind the scenes to try and get this.
You know what's more important? Actually doing something or tweeting about it?
Yeah. Actually doing something is probably more important. So
outrageous.
And just, we got a solid result. So, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that they're only shopping it to streaming services. If somebody actually wants to theatrically release it, it'd be really nice as well. But, because, yeah, this is an interesting film that, people have been having their eye on for a while. So,
I just like how that was copyright striking all the videos.
They're striking all the behind the scenes footage.
Ever.
It was very petty. So
behind the scenes of the music, behind the scenes of them doing stunts on the film, everything, they're just striking it. Crazy.
All right. Moving on. This week had Netflix Geeked Week, their big event where they reveal a bunch of new stuff coming to Netflix, showing a bunch of behind the scenes footage and a lot of clips and some new trailers and stuff. So this is where we're going to do this week's top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
This week's top 3 is top 3 things from Netflix Geeked Week 2023. Dylan, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is the release date for Arcane Season 2. There wasn't much to it. It was a very short teaser.
It was a 30-second teaser.
30-second, but it's nice to actually know that it's coming next year, November, and it was just a reminder of how good that show is. So it's my number 3.
That doesn't speak very highly for the content here. My number 3 is a new upcoming series called The Brother's Son, starring Michelle Yeoh, who plays the mother of 2 sons. One who was raised by a legendary assassin or crime lord, and the other raised by her in a loving family. Who, after the father dies, the other son comes to live with her to try and protect them from any other potential people trying to strike against their family. Looks like it'll be a fun action comedy. Some of the action scenes look quite good, and just more Michelle Yeoh is always good. So yeah, and more Asian representation. So yeah, check out it's a teaser trailer for The Brother Sun. Watch that on the Netflix YouTube channel. Dylan, what's your number 2?
Number 2 was the Netflix original film Damsel, the first trailer for that, starring Millie Bobby Brown. I think it looks cool. I like the premise. This princess or whatever, like, hey, go marry the prince, typical fairy tale shit. But then it turns out they want to sacrifice her to some fucking monster or some shit to like keep everyone on the safe. I don't know, whatever. Like, it's twisting the typical. Yeah, twisting the like your typical fairy tale story on its head. And it looked like relatively dark and everything, which I like. The director did do like 28 weeks later. 28 weeks later. A couple of like dark thriller horror movie sort of stuff. So I'm hoping it keeps that sort of vibe and stuff. And yeah, I quite enjoyed the trailer. So I mean, number 2.
All right, I thought that was a pretty good trailer. Millie Bobby Brown looks like she's been doing some bicep curls and stuff, like holding that sort of. My number 2, Dead Boy Detectives. So this is kind of it's from a Sandman spin-off series by Neil Gaiman, about 2 detectives solving mysteries. The only thing is they're both dead. They're both ghosts. So they're trying to solve these mysteries for the living, while also trying not to be found by death and forced to go to the next plane of existence. Looks really good. I mean, it definitely has that YA supernatural vibe sense. So, but yeah, it looks like it has a bunch of. It'll be fun, a good time. Apparently, it was meant to originally be a HBO Max series, but it's on Netflix. So yeah, check it out. Dead Boy Detectives coming 2024. Dylan, what's your number 1?
My number 1 was the trailer for the upcoming series Yu Yu Hakusho, which is based on the manga, which was also had an anime series. I wouldn't say like I've watched the anime, like I remember watching it, random episodes and stuff like that. But I've never I wouldn't say like I'm like I don't know enough to tell you fucking anything other than I remember the opening theme song in English. I don't know what the fucking Japanese one was, but other stuff like that. But I really like this trailer. I thought this looked like fucking like some of the action sequences and stunt work and stuff like that. They have some like sick ass fights happening in between it. It doesn't look as weird as the anime, but maybe they're just holding some of the stuff back, like some of the demons and stuff or whatever. Ghosts. No, and what's the fucking word? The actual word, the Japanese word for like fuck. I heard it so much in that stupid Ghostwire Tokyo game too. They said it all the time. Whatever. Anyway, it looks a lot of fun. I like the word, but it's basically just this dude who dies. He gets hit like I don't know by a taxi or whatever. I think that's
classic story. Saves a girl while hitting.
Yeah, it's like that's the way the trailer starts, and then like they're like, "Hey, we'll put you back to life, but you got to like you're now like a
spirit
ghost killer, detective thing." So it's basically the prologue of Ghostwire Tokyo. What is the word? Fuck.
Yokai?
That's it. Yokai. That's what I was trying to think. Yeah. So he's like you got to fight the yokai.
Okay. My number 1 is upcoming DreamWorks animated film, Orion in the Dark. It's written by Charlie Kaufman. The mind behind such films as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Sinoki, New York, and I'm Thinking of Ending Things. He's adapting a children's book, animated on DreamWorks. So I'm going to read the premise. Orion seems a lot like your average elementary school kid, shy, unassuming, harboring a secret crush, but underneath his seemingly normal exterior, Orion is a very anxious boy, completely consumed by irrational fears of bees, dogs, the ocean, cell phone waves, murderous gutter, clowns, and even falling off a cliff. But of all these fears, the thing he's afraid of most is what he confronts on a nightly basis: the dark. He needs a light every time he's sleeping. So when the literal embodiment of his worst fear pays him a visit, the dark whisks Orion away on a roller coaster ride around the world to prove there's nothing to be afraid of in the night. As the unlikely pair grow closer, Orion must decide if he can accept the unknown and stop letting fear control his life, and finally embrace the joy of living without any concerns. So yeah, this looks really good. Obviously, Charlie Kaufman's involvement makes it interesting because, it probably isn't going to go the way you expect it to. And I think it's, pretty well animated. The cast is very good. It's Jacob Tremblay and Paul Walter Hauser plays Dark. yeah, this is the thing that interests me the most out of this week of content.
I mean, I was complaining last episode about there not being enough scary things for kids. So yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's scary. I think it's just about facing your fears and that kind of stuff.
It's pretty fucking scary.
Having to face things. A few other things I want to shout out.
No, it's top 3. Fuck off.
This is just general news now.
Right, okay. We're transitioning. You gotta
transition back to
news.
news.
Transition, okay.
So yeah, some of other things like Netflix went hard on the games. Like there is so much stuff coming to Netflix mobile, like Hades, Death's Door, Katana Zero. Katana Zero is coming to Netflix before it comes to PlayStation. It's crazy. It's but the a bunch of tie-ins with a bunch of their games. But my favorites, Chicken Run, Extraction, a top-down stealth game is coming in 2024 or later this year, maybe coming soon from Aardman Studios. They've got like a games division within the actual studio. They announced a Terminator anime series.
Yep, nothing teaser trailer. Yep,
nothing but a teaser trailer, but that's interesting. Interesting. What was the other? So they announced what was it called? Jurassic World Chaos Theory, which is a new series, which is a direct sequel to the Camp Cretaceous series. Has a couple of the same characters, but it's set after the events of Fallen Kingdom. So it's like that time period where dinosaurs have started to infiltrate the human world. Not a single locust in that trailer. So, it's promising.
Not watching it. Like, and that's what I'm there for, man. I'm here for the locusts, not the dinosaurs.
What else was interesting? Oh, there was the first trailer for Avatar: The Last Airbender, live action. A lot of people very excited, thought it was fantastic. I'm still on the fence about this. I think it was very heavy on the VO. Didn't actually get much of the characters and that kind of stuff. There's some cool visuals and that kind of thing, but I need to actually see people interact and that kind of stuff before I get super excited. And a lot of the animals just look kind of weird. Like, I don't know if they're still rendering the animal effects, but they're kind of stuck in like an uncanny valley between puppetry and CGI. It looks like I don't know which they're going for, but it's kind of stuck in the middle. So that's my opinion on that. I feel like there was some other important announcements.
They talked a little bit about Tomb Raider and had some concept art. I thought
they had a really cool featurette with Powerhouse Studios, who do all the animation, a lot of the animation stuff on Netflix, like all the gaming series, like all the Castlevania and Devil May Cry and Blood Zero and He-Man and all that. So that's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, concept art discussing the Tomb Raider series, how they're trying to incorporate a bunch of stuff from the past and that kind of stuff into that. The Witcher is getting another animated movie called The Witcher Sirens of the Deep. This one voiced by Dog Cockle from the video games.
From video games.
Even
though it's set during season 1 of the show.
Henry Cavill just did not want to come.
Henry Cavill died. Like, I honestly feel like he's dead, Like,
let me ask you a question. Have you watched The Witcher season 3?
I have not.
Me neither. That says a lot, right?
Yeah. You would know. I don't know if you know, Ash. We use this thing called Trakt.
Yeah. Well, I didn't look it up.
To watch it. Yeah.
They also had a trailer for the Exploding Kittens show.
Yeah, that looked good.
That looks good. Tom Ellis playing God, who's stuck in the body of a cat.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm down.
Down for that.
Yeah. No idea how it ties into the board game, but don't care. It looked fun.
No. And then, of course, the big sending off point was there as a new trailer for Rebel Moon Part 1 for A Child of Fire, which, of course, is releasing on December 22nd. So
I like that.
Yeah, good trailer. They had like a full showcase, like 20 minutes, like Q&A with Zack Snyder.
I finally understand what the general plot is, like So I give it points for that.
In this trailer, like
Yeah, in
the
this trailer, I
rebellion
finally
against the
understand. It's like these people come down. They basically look like Nazis. She's like escaped from another war. She was in hiding on a nice planet. I can see how this was really a Star Wars thing. And then she sets off to gather the 6 legendary fighters from other planets. It's basically what it looks like. And they're going to come back and fight the bad guys. I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah. So I watched most of the showcases. Is my opinion. Just do one show. Make it more like a state of play. You don't need to have all the banter in between things explaining stuff. You can just put that in an article.
I don't know.
I don't want to take jobs away or whatever, but it was a little bit cringe, some of the banter that was going on.
I assume, based on past years and stuff, they just like, it must do well enough. Like, they must get enough.
I guess. Yeah, months of views and that kind of stuff. Also, I don't think clips are as important as they're trying to push.
Like clips from shows.
Here's a clip, exclusive clip from the show.
No, it's very.
I don't care.
I mean, it's just that's
I don't think it's good.
The Today Show, and then the guest comes on, and they're like, "Oh, cool, tell us about your new movie." Oh, cool, I've brought a clip. Like, at least it worked. Like, that's what I'm used to. But when they're like,
you can do context.
Yeah, here's a clip.
You could set up it.
And then they interview them afterwards.
Here's a clip.
And then they come back and they're like, "Oh, cool." So in the scene, they're like, "Oh, so I'm playing this character, and as you can see in the clip, I'm doing this." Like, it's just random clips. Whatever.
No, all right. But yeah, that's everything from Netflix Geeked week. Let's move into giving some thumbs to trailers. Of course, you can find all the trailers we're about to talk about this week in the show notes below. Kicking things off with Mean Girls, directed by Arturo Perez Jr. and Samantha Jane, starring Angourie Rice, Aluli Cavallo, Renee Rapp, Jackal Spivey, Avantika Vandanupa, Bibi Woods, Christopher Brini, Jenna Fisher, Busy Phillips, John Hamm, Tina Fey, and Tim Meadows. New student Katie Heron gets welcomed into the top of the social food chain by an elite group of popular girls called the Plastics, ruled by the conniving Queen Bee, Regina George. However, when Katie makes the major misstep of falling for Regina's ex-boyfriend, she soon finds herself caught in their crosshairs. Dylan, what did you think of this trailer for Mean Girls?
Double thumbs down. I think it's a terrible trailer because I had so many fucking tweets and stuff popping up. Just people saying, I don't understand what the point of this is and all that sort of stuff. And like, I'd read about this movie months ago or whatever when they, like, at some point when they were filming it, or I don't know, at some point I knew this was based on the Broadway play, right? So I'm watching the trailer.
Musical.
I'm looking for the musical. I'm looking for the musical. I'm looking for the songs, of which this trailer does absolutely no job at explaining that's what.
No, it uses a prominent licensed song.
Yeah. So for that reason only, double thumbs down. Will I want to watch it? Yes. I'm keen to watch it, and I hope it's good. But for this trailer, double thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm also going to go double thumbs down. I don't know what they were trying to do with this trailer. Well, I do know what they were trying to do for this trailer. They're just trying to make it look like a remake of Mean Girls. And just completely not mention the fact that it's based on musical. Now I'm questioning, is there going to be any musical moments in this movie? Is it actually a musical, or is it just a reboot? I don't know. Based on this trailer, it seems like there's going to be musical moments. It seems like they're going to do some song and dance and that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is a weird, like, especially when musicals
on the if you look up on the website, they do list it as a comedy musical.
Yeah. Musicals are kind of back in vogue. Why wouldn't you, like, bill it as a musical? I don't understand. Like, I guess they're going for the audience that loves Mean Girls and would want a remake, which I think is a very, very tiny group of people. But if you're like, hey, it's based on the musical, check it out. Yeah, this is a very weird marketing move. I think the trailer itself, fine, I've never seen Mean Girls, but I've seen enough online stuff.
Whoa!
We've discussed this before. We've talked about this before.
Whoa! Slow the fuck down. I cannot fucking remember. Hold on. You said I'm not saying Mean Girls?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen Twitter. We wear pink on Tuesday, right? I will rectify that before this movie comes out, but you know. And that movie comes out the 11th of January, 2024.
it's a Christmas movie. Let's add it to the fucking podcast.
Do you want to?
Maybe we should. I mean, it's not a full Christmas movie, but you can argue it.
Right, add it to the list. We'll stick it on the schedule.
You know, they dress up. They have a Christmas scene.
That's true. I know.
You've seen
John
the
Hamm.
GIF, yeah,
That
you've
was
seen the
funny.
GIF,
John
yeah,
Hamm,
but-
you should have been lifted from a call.
Yeah, fucking Jesus Christ.
All right, next trailer. Bookie, created by Chuck Lorre, starring Sebastian Maniscalco, Omar Dorsey, Vanessa Felito, Jorge Garcia, Andrea Anders, and Maxim Swinton. A veteran bookie struggles to survive the impending legalization of sports gambling, increasingly unstable clients, family co-workers, and a lifestyle that bounces him around every corner of Los Angeles, high and low. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for Bookie?
I got one up, one down. Looked mildly intriguing. I was tonally a bit confused. Yeah, I don't know. It's also just like a very American thing, I feel. Like this the whole idea of the show and everything like that. Just very like something I can't relate to too much. Like, you know. So yeah, I'll go one up, one down.
Yeah, I'll go one up, one down as well. It seems like it'll be funny when you actually see it in context and that kind of stuff. But like you said, it's like hard to get the context when, you know, sports gambling is so prevalent here and it's just a touch of a button.
Fucking 10 adverts on it for,
you know,
sports bet every
sports
night,
gambling.
you know?
You could just go to the local tab and you do it.
Yeah.
You know, not this underground like making bets on the bottom and like betting on the weirdest sports related stuff. But yeah, I did enjoy Charlie Sheen saying, "I've got some sports memorabilia. I got Babe Ruth's autopsy report." Weird. So this premieres on Binge on the 30th of November. Next trailer is for the Garfield movie, directed by Mark Dindal, starring Chris Pratt, Samuel Jackson, Hannah Winningham, Ving Rhames, Nicholas Hoult, Cecily Strong, Harvey Guillén, Brett Goldstein, and Bowen Yang. Garfield, the world-famous Monday-hating, lasagna-loving indoor cat, is about to have a wild outdoor adventure after an unexpected reunion with his long-lost father, scruffy street cat Vic. Garfield and his canine friend Odie are forced from their perfectly pampered life into joining Vic in a hilarious high-stakes heist. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for the Garfield movie?
Fuck it, double thumbs up. Maybe
Whoa!
we was wrong about Chris Pratt. Maybe he is the voice acting superstar we didn't know he was, you know? Mario Garfield, who can he do next? Link? Let's fucking do it. I don't know. Look pretty funny to me. I like Garfield. I even like those. I really like the other movies growing up. They came out.
The Bill Murray ones?
Yeah, they came out when I was in like grade 6. So I feel like I was like, or around then, I think. So I enjoyed those, you know. I fucking enjoyed this trailer, the bit setting up the cute cat and just demolishes food. Like, that was a good bit. Cut to him telling the story, and that's how I adopted John, yeah. It was a good bit. Yeah, fuck it.
It's one up, one down for me. I think it was fine.
You hate cats.
I hate cats. Yeah, the animation is kind of odd. Like, they're
Really?
going like, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's like the character design, like super kind of realistic fur and that kind of stuff, or like that, but then like super cartoony eyes. I don't know. It just, you know, kind of rubbed me the wrong way. You know, it was fun watching young Garfield, like all that, and then Chris Pratt starts talking like and then Samuel L. Jackson plays his father, and I think, oh, that's crazy. Why are these two voices together? But yeah, I mean, it looks solid. You know, do I think Chris Pratt's the best thing to come to voice acting? I don't think so, but you know,
He kind of works for Garfield.
I think he's a good fit for Garfield. You know, do I think he's a good fit for Mario? No. But Garfield, this one makes sense.
This one
of all the
actually
voice
seems to
casting
work,
roles. Yeah. Yes.
And
So-
I don't know. I like how they tweeted out a picture of him beforehand, before the trailer dropped. That was good. Here's your first look at Chris Pratt as Garfield. They said that was a picture of Garfield. The dumbest tweet I've seen.
All right. The Garfield movie is releasing in cinemas May 30th, 2024. Getting in early. Next trailer is for The Artful Dodger, created by James McNamara, David Marr, and David Taylor, starring Thomas Barodi Sangster, David Thewlis, Maya Mitchell, Damon Herriman, Tim Minchin, Miranda Tapsell, Susie Porter, Damien Garvey, Kim Gingle, Vivian Albasoga, and Albert Latala La Kepa. Set in 1850s Australia in the lively colony of Port Victory, Jack Dawkins, aka the Artful Dodger, is now a surgeon who still has a penchant for crime. When Dodger's past returns to haunt him with the return of Fagin, he is lured back into the world of crime, from heists to life and death surgeries to the harsh realities of the criminal world, mingling with the middle-grounded gentry. This is a tale of reinvention, betrayal, redemption, and love with a twist. Dylan, what did you think of this new Australian series, The Artful Dodger?
Yeah, I'll go one up, one down. Looks like a bit of fun, but I don't feel like it had enough to really grab me and go, fuck yeah, I can't wait to watch this. The only thing from the trailer that I was like, that's pretty great, is David Thewlis, however you say his name.
Yep.
He looks like he's having a great time, so came for that. But yeah, otherwise I'll just go one up, one down. I don't know. Maybe also it's just Thomas Brody sang shit or whatever, like not enough screen presence for me or something like that. I don't know. At least not in the trailer.
I'm going to go 2 thumbs up. I enjoyed the trailer. I can understand. I feel like I learned more about the premise of this show from that description rather than the actual trailer. But, you know, I think they do a good job of setting up the vibe of the show and that kind of stuff. I think it's really good incorporation of Wolfmother's Joker and the Thief, which I haven't heard in forever. Yeah, you just set off a fun vibe for the show and that kind of stuff. And obviously, early 1850s Australia, you know. Looks like it'll be a good time. So yeah, this is coming to Disney Plus on November 29th. Last trailer for this week, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, directed by Gil Kenan, starring Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, Kamal Nanjiani, Patton Oswalt, Celeste O'Connor, Logan Kim, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and Annie Potts. The Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the Spengler family returns to where it all started, the iconic New York City firehouse. Team up with the original Ghostbusters, who have developed a top-secret research lab to take busting ghosts to the next level. But when the discovery of an ancient artifact unleashes an evil force, Ghostbusters, new and old, must join forces to protect their home and save the world from a second ice age. Dylan, you weren't a fan of the old Ghostbusters infiltrating Ghostbusters Afterlife. What are your thoughts on this new Frozen Empire?
I feel like at least going in, I know it involves everyone, so I can have the. It's just my major problem with the first film was it just felt like they interrupted that finale, you know, and it just took it away. Not against them and being involved with the continuation of the franchise, but just and this, yeah, I really like this. I'm giving this double thumbs up. I think this looks.
Whoa!
I think this looks really good based on this teaser. I like how, you know, we've got all the important players back here, including podcast. So, and then we've got the combination of the new and old. We've got a cool new idea. It's not like a returning or a twist on a ghost or whatever from one of the other ones. It's something new, so that's exciting. And yeah, I know it looks pretty, like I like also the director. It's not Jason Reitman doing this one. It's Gil Kenan, whatever, however you say his name. And you know, he directed Monster House, so this will hopefully scare kids.
Hopefully, that's the dream. Yeah, this is 2 thumbs up from me. I think it's obviously a teaser, like very interesting setup. I don't think the ice doesn't look fantastic. I would say is one criticism, but
It's not ice, it's ghost ice.
I guess so. Does ghost ice look different than normal ice?
Yes, because it's dead ice.
Okay. Yeah, it looks good. Interesting setup. Fun to see Kumail Nanjiani's going to be part of it. Fun to see Patton Oswalt's going to be part of it. Cool to see the red jumpsuits, bit different, distinguishing them, I guess, from the old school and that kind of stuff. Yeah, just the score coming in and that kind of stuff, really fun. So yeah, interesting to see the reaction as well, like from people who just don't like Ghostbusters, I guess, and how vocal they are after this. It's like, how is Ghostbusters even a franchise? It had one good movie and that kind of stuff. It's like, you know,
I mean,
they
I
had a
like
bunch of like spin-offs and that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
they've specifically said like the real Ghostbusters animated show was like a key touchstone for this and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know, if you don't like Ghostbusters, you don't like Ghostbusters. The films, if you take like the animated show is great, and like they had some really successful comics and stuff. Like there's a lot to the property. But yeah, like Ghostbusters, if you just left it as a film, it's like Ghostbusters 1 is a fucking fantastic film, and Ghostbusters 2 is like, yeah. So from that point, I get it. But also, if you don't like Ghostbusters, if you're not open to liking these films, just shut the fuck up.
good sentiments.
Mm.
So Ghostbusters Frozen Empire releases in cinemas March 28th, 2024. Dylan, this week, what do you want to watch?
How do I forget this segment? I feel like I've remembered 2 weeks and then
Yeah, you've been pretty good.
I've been pretty good, but now you got me. Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is what I'm looking forward to watching in the cinema screen this week. I rewatched the first Hunger Games last week. I'm probably going to watch Catching Fire tonight, I think. So it's my current plan would be for that.
Yeah.
So get ready. Have you watched Hunger Games movies?
Yes, I've watched all 4.
I never watched the last 2.
Oh, interesting.
I read all the books.
I mean, the last 2 were not
Yeah.
fantastic, just because, you know,
They did the
they're
whole
completely
split.
Well, that and the structure of the story is they're not in the Hunger Games anymore.
But I like the book. I didn't mind that there was no game in the book and stuff. But I like doing this thing where I read all the books and then never watch all the movies. I did that for Twilight as well. I read all those Twilight books and actually didn't mind them, and then never watched the last 2 movies either. So I did the same for Hunger Games.
So now you're like, oh, I'll definitely watch the movies now. Even though this is a prequel, it'll have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but maybe it'll just like maybe like, you know, like it's got me back into spirit. TV wise, well, look, I would say Scott Pilgrim, but spoilers, I've watched it all, so I look forward to a review of that on Explosion Network later this week. I can say I've watched it. I think that's fine, but so I won't pick that. Instead, I will say Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. Starts on Apple TV this week.
That's a good pick. Yeah, I would also say my pick would be for the films, The Hunger Games, which has been getting very positive reviews, surprisingly positive.
People
reviews.
are saying it's like the best one, which is crazy for a prequel, or like at least tied for Catching Fire, maybe. So.
But also shout out Saltburn starting to release in cinemas. So if you can see Saltburn, go see Saltburn. Can you see Saltburn?
Yeah, well, they still put that. I haven't looked actually. Remember, I said they said it was on the website as coming soon. Let's have a look.
That doesn't mean anything.
Keep going. I'm looking.
TV fronts. I'm also looking at Monarch. I'm also looking forward to Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. But I also want to watch Brawn, the Impossible Formula One story, which is a new documentary series about the Brawn F1 team, hosted by Keanu Reeves. So yeah, that looks like it'll be a good time. So I'm excited to check that out.
The website says coming November 16th, but they don't have session time, so
that's disappointing.
So for now, I have session times for Hunger Games. So like I will plan my week around that.
All right, let's know what you want to watch this week by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here, what do you want to watch? Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars. Anywhere can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, Thor's worth $1, head on over to our Ko page at explosion.com/supports. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.